Is that right? Yeah. And so this just gives the divisions. Now Virgo is a huge constellation. It's about 48 degrees. So it's in Virgo, it's in the tropical zodiac, it's in Virgo, it's in Libra, and in Scorpio. Huge. So in the sidereal zodiac, it's partly in Leo, a few degrees in Leo, 30 degrees in sidereal Virgo, and then a big part of it is in the sidereal Libra. So you can see how they really just looking in and out of the circle to see them. So here you see the Virgin is 22 Virgo to 9 degrees 30 minutes of Scorpio in our tropical zodiac. In the sidereal zodiac, it goes from 28-15 Leo to 15 degrees Libra. So this is this whole section. Then Libra, the constellation, then there's a space, there's no constellation, there's a gap there between Virgo and Libra. And Libra is just a small 11 degree constellation of the scales. So the scales go from 14 degree, they're in Scorpio now. So the scales go from 14 degrees Scorpio to 24, 50, 45, really probably closer to 15 to 25 and a half now, but that's in Scorpio. And in the sidereal zodiac, Libra is going from 1930 of Libra to 015 of Scorpio. So it's just in the last part of sidereal Libra. Then there's another empty space where there's no constellations, and then the constellation of Scorpio begins. And when you have the Scorpion is going from 215 Sagittarius, all inside the tropical zodiac of Sagittarius. Maybe that's why it gives Sagittarius opinions tend to be they're blunt anyways, but they might have a little Scorpio sting to them. A little sarcasm tied into it. But the Scorpion is between 745 Scorpio and 315 of Sagittarius. Okay, so these are just marking in the faces. I'm just going over, when you get to individual stars, they have really distinct presences. That's another level of going in. The Archer, the Archer's up top here, like at noon, and you have the Archer. It's pretty well within the sign of Capricorn. So it's in the tropical sign of Capricorn from 030 up to 27 degrees, and it's in the sidereal zodiac from 6 Sag up to 2 degrees 30 minutes of Capricorn, of sidereal Capricorn. So it just overlaps it a little bit. We'll see these closer again in a minute. But then there's a big gap between Sagittarius, like 6-degree gap between Sagittarius and Capricorn. Then the goat comes in, and the goat is running in the tropical signs with 3 degrees Aquarius to 23 degrees. So if your sun's in between 3 degrees Aquarius and 23 degrees Aquarius, you got a goat. We're kind of goaty, or I don't know whether you call it grumpy or goaty or whatever. That goat element would be influencing the tropical sign. And it's in the sidereal, the goat is between 8:30 and 28:30 in Capricorn, in the sidereal Capricorn. Now, a funny thing happens here, because when you look at the goat, it's up at about 11 o'clock, and you see the goat here, you'll see that the constellation of the Water Bearer, which is a big constellation, it runs a long way. It runs over top of half of the goat. The foot of the Aquarius is over half of the goat. So these two constellations overlap each other, for a good amount of degrees. Again, we'll come to these empty states, but there are overlap places with constellations. So the constellations, because they're different, they're not exactly, they're the ones that are the main ones on the ecliptic where the sun goes by and they go through these. But they're different sizes and they're up or down at different levels. So with Aquarius and Capricorn, they're over top of each other. I find it interesting because in the traditional rulership, Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. And both are tied together like that. And for us, it's the cold winter signs in the tropical zodiac. Now, Pisces, the fish is in 17 degrees Pisces, tropical Pisces, to the 2745 Aries. You see the fish here, it starts in Pisces and it runs all the way over to the near the end of Aries. It's in sidereal Pisces, but it starts even in sidereal Aquarius and runs through Pisces into sidereal Aries. So from 2230 Aquarius to 3 degrees 15 Aries. Okay. Now, yeah, don't get lost. I'm just showing these things. I don't expect you to know. I just want you to know, get some sense of this perspective that's there. So when you run across a sidereal astrologer, you have a bearings to relate it to. That it's not that hard. You're just changing sign. You're just adjusting the signs from a tropical view to the sidereal view. And with the sidereal view, it's going to be, the sun will be in that constellation. The planets will be in that constellation. There won't be seasons relating to it, so you don't reverse the signs in the southern hemisphere, which is one of the arguments that the siderealists use. Of course you use a sidereal, because why would you reverse the signs in the southern hemisphere? Well, why would the seasons be reversed? Well, they are, but that's another story. So there are two different frequencies being measured here. Now, okay, so now these are I call it twilight zones, areas of free space between the constellations. So if you're working with the sidereal or the constellations, there's areas where the constellations aren't really there in those degrees, and perhaps they don't follow the same rulers. Perhaps they have the constellations above that or below that might have a stronger influence. I call them twilight zones because they're in between. They're not necessarily affected by the same rulers in the same way. And this is my argument with the sidereal astrology, taking just the 30 degrees and generally saying they all work. Because it's there, it's all going to be generally working like that. It's partly true. It's like when I didn't have my glasses for a couple of years walking around, everything was fuzzy, but I thought that was normal. When I finally got my glasses, I looked clearly. I was, whoa, I realized how much I was missing. It was like shocking to see so much more clearly. So with our new scientific instruments and new ways of measuring things, we're seeing things more clearly and more specifically than a lot of times they make a mathematical association and manipulate the chart to determine timings back in older times before they were really good ephemerises. And they were done more by observation, and books would be handwritten and hand copied for somebody. They wouldn't be. So, okay. There's several voids or several of these twilight zones. And the first one, it's 2745 Aries to 245. You might say 28 Aries to 3 Taurus would be around that now. But this is the difference from the end of the Pisces constellation, the end of Aries, until it gets to the first star in Aries. There's this gap. Yeah, there's about a 5-degree gap when there's not really of any constellation. So the size of the void 5 degrees. So this is just a chart of them between the bull and the twins. There's not a gap between Aries and Taurus. They actually overlap a little bit, but between the bull and the Gemini, or the bull and the twins, there's a distinct gap there. It's a 10-degree gap. So in the tropical zodiac, that gap's 24, 30, now 25 something to about 5 degrees, 30 minutes of Cancer. So I'll just stick to ones here and know that they're for 1950. So 2430 to 430 of Cancer. So that area over the solstice, the summer solstice, doesn't have a constellation over it. Well, if you're working, that's significant in terms of stars, energies, influences. Like it's got to mean something. There's a certain frequency that's changing. No constellation there. There's still going to be stars. There's stars in every degree, going up or down, but not the constellations. So then the constellation goes on, and then between the twins and the crab, there's another big area. This is 11 degrees and 15 minutes. And that's going from 22:15 Cancer to 3 degrees, 30 minutes Leo. So it's going from the end of Cancer until it's marked here. You'll see it, the dark spots on the degree grid mark the empty spaces. Then Cancer comes in. Between Cancer and Leo, there's another empty spot, which comes between the crab and the lion. There's 1330 Leo to about, say, 14 Leo to about 20 Leo, 1330 to 1915 Leo in the tropical zodiac, there's not a constellation right there. Not a zodiac constellation, but there's the empty space in between. In the sidereal, that's between 19 Cancer and 45 Cancer. That will still be the same. Won't be possessing. So then you see the whole Leo, the big Leo constellation. They see a little gap before it's 2 degrees 15 minutes empty space before it comes to the constellation of the Virgin. So Lion Virgin had this 2 degree 15 minute gap from 2030 Virgo to 2245 Virgo in the tropical zodiac. And so if your sun's there, you're going to say, oh, if it's not there, well, it's just little distinctions and differentiations start to build up higher frequency uniqueness. So okay, in the sidereal zodiac, the gap is from 26 Leo to 2815 Leo. Between the Virgin and the scales, there's another gap. It's 4 degrees 30 minutes, and it runs from tropical 930 to Scorpio to 14 Scorpio, now 10 to 15, I'd say. And the sidereal from 15 to 1930 of Libra. You can see the gap. I marked them with these little black spots on the chart along the degree grid. And between Libra and Scorpio, there's another one, the scales on the Scorpion. And that's a 7 degree 31 minute, going from 24:25 of Scorpio, 24:45 Scorpio to 2 degrees 15 of Sagittarius. Wow. Okay. And that's going from the beginning of Scorpio, 0:15 up to 7:45 sidereal Scorpio. Then between the Scorpion and the Archer, there's still another couple of degrees gap between them. And that's 27:45 Sag to 0:30. So both solstices right now, for where it is, are not where there's a constellation. They're in the twilight zone in between them. It'll be very different when a star is touching the solstice, and the energies will be different on those solstice points. Okay, and then there's one more between the end of Sagittarius and the beginning of Capricorn. There's a gap, and it's there, 27 Capricorn to 3 degrees Aquarius, 2:30 in tropical, and 2:30 Capricorn to 8:30 Capricorn in the sidereal, 6 degree difference. So this is the empty areas of free space. So that they're there, these are different distinguishing factors. You can't don't draw a big conclusion. They're just there, and there's different energies. I'm just pointing this out. It's a different way of thinking than just the daylight's increasing, nighttime's increasing. You're looking at space as we're going out. And we're relating the circle of space with the cycle of the seasons. And you measure circles and cycles in 360 degrees, but one is more spatial. So then we got the overlaps. Pull this a little bit here.